everyone, this is Cheryl and welcome to my sewing room. I'm going to demonstrate how to make these beginners really easy flannel pajama bottoms. So let's get started. The pattern that I'm using is labeled See and Sew, and it'll say yes, it's easy. And the size information is right here. This happens to be a large through extra large. So make sure you read down in that bottom left-hand corner. This is the pattern number, B as in boy, 5517. And you can get these at Joann Fabrics and Crafts. These patterns, I don't remember exactly what this one was, but it's either $3 or $4. It's somewhere in there. And the view that I'm using is view B, the cropped pajama bottom pants. Make sure you read the back of the envelope for which size fits you. The measurements are listed on there for each size. If you are not sure how to read a pattern, especially the pattern envelope, because that's your first step, then please click on the link in the upper right-hand corner, How to Read a Pattern. And it takes you through all of the terminology so that you understand what you're reading and how to approach it and how to get it started. When you open up your pattern, you're going to do this layout right here. So this is where you lay out your pattern pieces and get them cut out. Because I'm using flannel, mine's 45 inches, this is the layout here. Remember, your fabric is folded with the selvage edges together. Also remember, just before you lay it all out, review what lines you're to cut on, because this has two sizes in it, a large and an extra large. So there's two different cutting lines on the pattern pieces. There was a dash line here. I've used this pattern before. That was the large, and then the solid line is the extra large. And then also there are areas where you can shorten or lengthen through the crotch area and in the pant leg area. So make sure you hold the pieces up to you and make sure that they're going to be long enough or short enough in those areas you want. The seam allowance is 5/8. Look at your throat plate on your sewing machine. All of you have these lines with numbers on it. These are centimeters numbers. And the 5/8 mark is between the 10 centimeter line and the 20. So you're going to put the raw edge of your fabric right on that line. Now, when you lay your pattern pieces out, make sure you follow the layout that is displayed on your instructions. Now, when you're laying it out, you'll see a line on your pattern piece, both pieces, that say grain line. That means they need to go straight across, side to side. Do not go at an angle. If you didn't buy the right amount of fabric, and you thought, well, I can just kind of make it a little crooked, not a good idea, because the pants are never going to feel right. So make sure they're going straight on that grain line. Now, after you've cut your pieces of fabric out, your front and your back sections, before you remove this paper pattern piece, you're going to see some little markings on here. They're little V-like markings. Those are referred to as notches, and you use those to match the front and back pieces together. So before you remove this paper, take a small pair of scissors and cut this notch. Now, in your directions, it might refer to cutting out this way. I like to just do the opposite. I go in a little bit. So use small scissors and do that. Then go ahead and take your paper pattern off of your pieces and then use a zigzag stitch to go around the inside of the legs and the outside of the legs on all 4 pieces. Now you're going to take one of the front pieces and one of the back pieces and then bring them front side together and then pin along this inseam edge right here, and don't forget to match your little notches, which mine are right in here. Now you're going to stitch 5/8 of an inch from this edge here in. So stitch all along this inseam. Make sure that you've got your notches in here matched up. And remember, the raw edge is right on that 15mm line on your throat plate. Now you're going to take both sections and bring front sides together. Line up your seams and your notches. Now, this area here, this seam here, is the seam going down the inside of the leg. This is going through the crotch and up the center back and center front. That's what this part is here. So you're going to match this up, open the seams on both sides, and then go ahead, line them up, and place pins to hold that open. Then continue pinning all through the crotch area. Now as you stitch, you're going to stitch a 5/8 inch seam, but right about in here you're going to go from 5/8 into 1/4 of an inch. Okay? And then when you come back out over this side, you still stay 1/4 of an inch. Then when you get about here, you're going to gradually open up back to that 5/8 inch seam. Look at your pattern pieces. On there will be the markings for where you do that. Here is the seam that we just stitched right along here. So after you've done that, you want to open the pants up, okay? And look for the seams going across here. Okay, so you have this one here that we just unfolded. Now you're going to take this seam and bring it over to the other side. Okay, and line it up. Take your time on this. I hope this doesn't look too confusing. And I'm going to shake it out a little bit. Okay, so now you can see the beginning of the pants. So here's that seam we just stitched. This inside seam is already done. So we have the crotch and the inside seams done. Now you're going to go and do the seams on the outside of the pants. So you're going to match them up, match your notches, pin and stitch 5/8 of an inch seam all the way down the leg, and go over to the other side and do the same thing. Pin and stitch 5/8 of an inch seam. Before we can make the casing up here for the elastic to go through, you're first going to open your seams up, all 4 seams, and you're going to do a basting stitch along each edge here and here. That is to keep the elastic from when you're inserting it into the casing. It won't get caught on this because it is stitched down. And then you can remove the basting stitches later. Now the next step you want to do at your ironing board, and this is up here where your waist is going to be, and you're going to slip this end over the end of your ironing board, and you're going to use your iron to press the edges. So you're going to fold the edges over 1/4 inch and press all the way around front and back sides. After you've pressed the upper edge of the pants inside 1/4 inch, now you're going to fold over the edge. So here's my fold of 1/4 inch. Now you're going to fold it over again. In the instructions on my pattern, it says to fold it over 1 inch, but it's telling you to use 1 inch wide elastic. If you just fold this over 1 inch, you're going to have a really hard time pushing this elastic through. So I recommend adding another 1/4 inch so it makes it real easy to slide that elastic through. I have a little sewing gauge here, and I just fold it over, and this little lever here marks that 1¼ inch, and I just move it up and put a pin there. Now you need to leave an opening on any side, doesn't matter which side, of about 2 inches, okay? So right in here is about 2 inches. You need that opening that you're not going to stitch on so that you can insert the elastic. So after you've pinned the upper edge, you're going to start here and stitch all the way around, real close to this edge, all the way around. And I've got 2 pins here together. That's to mark the stop, the place where I want to stop stitching. So leave that opening so that you can insert the elastic through. Now it's time to put the elastic in. So remember, you're going to use 1 inch wide elastic. In the instructions, it recommends that you measure the size of your waist. Your waist is a little bit above your belly button. And then it says measure your waist and add 1 inch. Then insert a safety pin, and if you've got a large safety pin, it's going to be easier. And then here's my opening. Then you're just going to slip this in and begin pushing it through the casing. Now that you have your elastic all the way through, take your elastic, the 2 ends, and overlap them about 1/2 inch and place a pin to hold it. Use a safety pin. Then try the pants on to see if it's a good fit around the waist. If the elastic is too loose, that's easy to fix. Just go ahead and cut some of the elastic off. If it's too tight, you either measured incorrectly and you got to recut another strip, or you could add some elastic on by stitching the ends together. Once you've got it adjusted, take the 2 ends and overlap them. And then a little bit, 1/2 inch or so. And I usually just kind of sew a small little rectangle. I'll go around it several times to keep it reinforced. Then stick it back inside the casing and stitch the casing hole closed. Now you're ready to do the hem. So my pattern asks that you fold this bottom edge over 1/4 inch and press it. Then you fold it over whatever the hem allowance is on your pattern. Mine is 1 inch, so I would fold it over 1 inch. Now before I go any farther, I want to go over something that you may or may not have noticed on the pattern. When you were laying your pattern out and you were starting to cut around the bottom of the pant leg, you might have noticed that it flared out a little bit. And there's a reason behind that. For instance, if you cut the pants straight down like this with no flare, then you folded the edge over, it's not going to fit well. When you go to stitch the hem in, you're going to find tucks on the outside of the pant leg in that area where you stitched. So to keep that from happening, the designer added this little flare here. So when you fold it over, so fold over whatever your pattern tells you to do. Mine says 1 inch. My pattern calls for me to do a basting stitch along that folded edge. and also to do a basting stitch at the bottom fold. And that's so when you are folding this over, you're going to see that you may have a little extra fabric. It's not laying really flat. Well, if that's the case, then you pull on your basting stitch thread and ease it in to where it's flat. So that's the purpose behind all of that. Then, of course, once you've got all of that done, pin the edges down. And then I suggest you try the pants on before you stitch your hem in. Make sure they are the correct length. If they're too short, you have a little bit of room to lower it. If they're too long, of course, you can bring it up. But you're going to need to get that flare back in. So, because if you don't, you may have a problem when you go to do the hem. So you could restitch that side seam by flaring it out just a little bit, because you've got a lot of fabric in your seams. I hope this isn't confusing, but that's the purpose behind it. So after you've tried your pants on, go ahead and stitch close to this edge, and then you're done. For more beginners sewing projects, play this video until a green screen appears and then click on the links. Waiting for Maria to stop scratching.
Sorry, I'm waiting for like action or something.
Come on, Cheryl. I'll be a catering if anybody needs
This video, click on thumbs up. And don't click dip.
Oh, Cheryl.
You need a script to read off of.
Yeah, or something. Come on, let's go.
This video, click on thumbs up. Maria, your pillow's wrong. Just turn your hands to the other side. There you go.
This whole time.
If you like this video, click on thumbs up. And don't forget to click on share to share this video with your friends. And if you haven't subscribed yet, click on that red subscribe button down there in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Click on the little bell and enter your email address so you receive future emails about my latest video. If you're not receiving those emails, go to your cell phone or iPad, click on settings, and turn notifications in the on position. This is Maria, this is Manny, this is Jamie, and I'm Cheryl. So glad you came to my sewing room. See you next time, and happy sewing!